Alright, now that I have my part one of this done, got my pendulum moving. It's going out to here and it's sort of stopping. I'm going to add a little bit more. So I added a second keyframe at 48 and make sure it stops. Zoom that out a little bit more. I'm going to place this at 120, my keyframes down here. So now I have more time. And at about frame 85, I'm actually going to place this guy about right here. So this is a little zigzag. So what's going to happen here, it's going to stop, do a little overshoot, and then instead of settling down there, it's going to continue to go down to this location. This is where somewhat the overlap of the action will start happening. So obviously, when this starts to move, these start to drag behind it. When it starts to slow down, the pendulum part starts to catch up with the main part of the body. But as it starts to move, these items still haven't caught up with the original motion, so they're still going to lag behind. But obviously, this last bit of motion right here, I would delete that so it can still have the drag. So one thing I'm noticing is as this, before it starts to stop, this starts to curve in. And I'm going to sort of drag these keys out a little bit further. So now it sort of has this. But one other thing I want to do is I want to have this guy linger behind just a little bit more. So I just drag the keys, have it linger. So now it feels like it does a little, it just drags a little bit more behind than the rest. Select all my keys here. Make sure I set a key. 58. So as he goes down to about frame 80, I'm going to continue to put a little drag on this, on that limb, that back limb. So when he starts to slow down, it sort of stops. I want to do the overshooting like we did on the previous one. And then I want to have it come back about frame 100, have it come back to a settle. Use my channel editor, or my channel box, throw that guy back to 0 so it's straight. It's going to sort of come back to this standing motion. One thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and copy this key to frame probably 108. So I have that straight pose. But I'm just going to add a little bit of overshoot about right here so that it settles to an end. Now obviously there's some more work that can be done to sort of smooth these out to make them a little bit more finesse. And in general, you want to do all that at once so you can go back and then offset your keys like we did in the previous one with the rest of these. And you can also go even further by just pushing some of the poses. Like this starts to slow down, I can make this pose just a little bit more drastic, and then actually offset some of these keys by dragging them further down the timeline to get that sort of sway of overlapping. Now there will be a good deal of polish that would need to be done, on both the main part of the body and the remaining controllers. But for the most part, this is a quick, simple way to get overlapping and to understand the basics of how it works. So if I want to go ahead and polish this, go into my curve editor, try to get this as close as you can to, or you know what, just go to orthographic side view, get rid of my grid so I can see better. So when you go in your curve editor, when you're dealing with these, you can see your curve is going to be all sorts of different, and they're not going to really make much sense because of the timing that certain things are happening. You can see like this is sort of a straight line versus like an angle, and you'll get that with these certain things. But one thing, some things you can do is just go in and just sort of mess around, sort of see what happens, what different behaviors you get by either deleting keys or moving keys, or even trying to make the arcs to be one smooth, clean arc. You know, you can sort of just drag and sort of get a feel of what all that sort of looks like, and that way it will help you out in the long run. Sort of just going through and seeing what you can do. But for the general, like you'll find the curves will look different in each little scenario, but they'll also look the same. But for the most part, you do need to make sure that as you're animating, that there's no like straight frames where this frame will come from here and then sort of stop like on a brick, or not a brick, stop on a dime, so that this what it sort of looks like. Like, so your curve will always look like this, but you don't want to ever have anything that looks like, I can even these guys out. You don't want to have anything that ever looks like this within in your curves, because once this happens, it's just basically saying that it's stuck, it's stopped completely. And you can always have some slight kind of movement in it so that it feels organic. Because basically everything in life is organic except for mechanical things, and those things have a tendency to have those hard edges on your curves and everything else. But with that, that concludes part 2. And have any questions, just get a hold of me on the discussion board or email me. All right.